Hi, I'm Matthew and welcome to 2CrazyMedia. Today's video is going to be sort of a follow-up of one of my first videos I did on the channel for the Tuesday, Thursday videos earlier this month. This is going to be sort of a sequel to when I went over my top 5 favorite video games of last year of 2025. Today I'm going to be discussing my top 10 most anticipated games of 2026. I already looked at the past in previous videos, so today we're going to be looking towards the future and talk about some awesome upcoming games that I cannot wait for. So I'm going to be going over my top 10. These are going to be ranked from 10 to 1. I'm going to go from number 10 and go all the way to number 1 for my most anticipated games of this year. But first, start with some 3 honorable mentions. Just for a quick disclaimer of what's going to be in this video, all these games have been either confirmed to come out in 2026 with release dates or just slated to release this year. None of these games are just saying releasing soon and we don't know when. Like, there's no Intergalactic or Witcher 4. We all know those are not coming out this year, so those won't be on the list. This is more for games that are for sure, at least right now, confirmed to be coming out. They could get delayed. That's an obvious possibility in today's industry. But these are all games that, at the moment, are slated to release this year, and are all games that have already been announced. I'm not going to be talking about unannounced games that we think might be coming out, like Half-Life 3. This is all fully announced games. So, how about we get straight into it and go over, I've got 3 honorable mentions. Before I get into the top 10, I want to talk about 3 games that didn't almost made the list. But these are 3 games that I'm very excited for, I can't wait for, definitely going to try out, definitely going to play, and games that I'm just looking forward to. Maybe they had a previous game, the developers, that I loved. So yeah, let's go through these 3 honorable mentions in no particular order. These are just 3 games that I'm excited for, but just did not make the list. So, my first honorable mention I want to talk about is Crimson Desert. That's right, we've talked about this game honestly countless times on this channel, I feel like now, in just this month alone. This is one of the most anticipated games, I'd say, of this year. And for good reason. This game looks awesome. This game it was revealed years ago, I feel like. And every single few months, we just keep seeing more and more of this game that looks amazing. This is one of the few games on the list that does already have a release date, and that is March 19th. So coming pretty soon. And we already know it's for sure confirmed to come out that day. It won't be delayed because the game has gone gold, which means it definitely is coming out March 26th, which is awesome. Or March 19th, my bad. And the main reason it's on my sort of honorable mentions and not top 10 is just because while we've seen so much of this game, and we've seen so much gameplay and kind of so many dev talks and stuff like that, I feel like we still know very little about the game. It looks beautiful. It kind of reminds me of a mix between an Assassin's Creed game and a Zelda game, almost like a Breath of the Wild, which is really interesting. And it's just got this, looks like this crazy open world that you can experiment with so much. It looks beautiful. You can ride dragons, mechs, and bears, and fall from the sky. It just looks great. You can fly even. It looks wild. And it definitely, I love action games. That's the genre I've always fallen in love with, is just action games. Anything open world and action adventure. I love it. I love anything open world. Just give me a good open world that I can explore and do stuff in and kind of immerse myself in, and I'm in. And this game definitely seems like that. So yeah. The developers on the website talk about how it's a vast, seamless world with countless destinies await your discovery on the seamless open world of Pywell. I know they've talked a lot about just how big this game is, and obviously that comes with its own sort of concerns, with the hope that the world isn't just big to be big and is filled with stuff to do, and it isn't just a whole open nothingness. I think that's a big concern with a lot of open world games. But I think they'll nail it. Or at least I hope they nail it. Again, this is a studio that I really don't know much about. They've done games before, but really only online games, I feel like. So, the studio is Pearl Abyss, and they're working on their own. They've got their own engine called the Black Space Engine, which is super cool. And yeah, I'm really excited for it. It looks like a lot of fun sword combat, and that's why it's an honorable mention. Can't wait for it. Definitely be playing it March 19th. Alrighty. For my second honorable mention, it is going to be Saros. This is coming from Housemarque Games, the same developers who did Returnal. While this game isn't a direct sequel to Housemarque's last game, Returnal, it really does seem like a true spiritual successor. Again, it is basically a very similar in terms of just how the mechanics of the game. It's another game where it looks pretty difficult. You are kind of stuck on a planet that looks pretty unforgiving, pretty cool looking. And you kind of, every time, it's one of those games where every time you die, you come back again, have to restart it all. It definitely seems like they're trying to make it a little more forgiving this time, where you, I believe, get 2 lives each time. Or every time you die for the first time, you get to like come back again for a second chance. Which I think definitely is going to be make it a little more accessible to players who may have had a hard time Returnal, like myself. Like, I could never finish Returnal. I've tried, I've gone through a few of the worlds and stuff, but just haven't reached the end yet. There's just some bosses towards the end that I just cannot beat at all. But I really did enjoy Returnal for what I played of it. It was a lot of fun. It was beautiful looking. It was so weird and different in the best way possible. And I never really played anything like it. I know there's a lot of games like that where it's sort of unforgiving in the way that when you die, you have to restart the whole game again. But the mechanics of it, and it seems like the mechanics that they're bringing into this game with when you die, you get to sometimes, depending on what you do, you can carry some of your weapons and your abilities with you past death. And that seems awesome. It's also, the main character is being played by Rahul Kohli, who is awesome, great actor. I love Rahul Kohli, so to get to see him in a video game like this is going to be super cool. And just, it looks awesome. Just the whole bullet farm look of just avoiding and dodging hundreds of attacks coming at you at once with these crazy circular bullet things coming at you, and blocking with your shield and stuff. Just looks insane. This game looks like a lot of fun. I can't wait for it. Returnal was a game that I did not finish, but I did love, and I think it's going to be best. Honestly, I think it's going to be one of the best games, at least best review games of the year. That's at least my opinion. So yeah, Saros is one of my honorable mentions. Alrighty, for my third and final honorable mention, and this is sort of a smaller indie game, and that is Big Walk by House. If you don't know who House is, these are the developers that did Untitled Goose Game. That's right, the last game was Untitled Goose Game. It was Untitled Goose Game, which is sort of an indie darling. It's one of the most popular indie games I'd say out there, and it is one of my all-time favorite indies. I love Untitled Goose Game. I think I finished, it only takes like around 1 or 2 hours to finish. It's a pretty short experience. But I think I've finished that game like 10 times now. I absolutely love Untitled Goose Game. And their next game, which was revealed, I believe, 2 years ago at the Game Awards, Big Walk, is coming this year, or at least slated to come this year. This is a game where they describe it to be hang out and get lost with close friends in a big world. This really just seems like a massive open world exploration game where you play as these funny looking circular characters and kind of walk around with your friends. It seems to be online where you can play with friends and just kind of explore the world. It seems like there's going to be a lot of fun secrets to find in this place and whatever world they've built. It just looks like a lot of fun. Honestly, I don't really care what the game is. I'll play anything from House. And for the next game to be coming out this year, it gets me really excited. It looks like a lot of fun. We haven't seen much of it, honestly. We've seen very little, but I hope we can see more this year. And I'm hoping it releases this year, because this game just seems like a ton of fun, and I love the vibe House always has with their games. So, Big Walk is my third honorable mention. I do think this will be a big hit this year when it comes out. Alrighty, now it's finally time to get into my top 10 most anticipated games of the year. That's right, we're going to start with number 10 and go all the way to number 1. So, my number 10 most anticipated game this year is Tomb Raider: Legacy of Atlantis. This is the new upcoming Tomb Raider game coming from Amazon Studios and being developed by Crystal Dynamics. That's right. Crystal Dynamics, obviously the developers behind the last Tomb Raider trilogy, So Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and then Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which are all 3 games that I've played and loved. I absolutely love Tomb Raider. While I don't love Tomb Raider as much as I love Uncharted, I think Tomb Raider is still a good substitute for when we kind of don't really have Uncharted anymore, sadly. And so I really do like Tomb Raider. I just, honestly, any game with an treasure hunting and parkour and action, any game that feels like a movie, which these games always feel like movies, are always my games. That was with the last few Tomb Raiders, and this game looks awesome. It is a full remake of the original Tomb Raider, which is awesome. And yeah, I've never played the original Tomb Raider. The only Tomb Raider games I have played are the 3 most recent ones in the trilogy. So I'm excited to kind of experience the original Tomb Raider games for myself. I think this will be a big hit. My prediction is they'll probably just start remaking all the old Tomb Raider games after this. Next year we are getting finally the first new Tomb Raider game in a while, which is not a remake, which is Tomb Raider Catalyst, which seems to be like an open world Tomb Raider game, which looks insane. But I'm really excited for Legacy of Atlantis. Like I've said, I've never played the original, and all I know is I know there are dinosaurs in it. So that gets me excited. I think that's pretty cool. And honestly, just you give me any third-person action game with a treasure hunter and parkour and exploration and gunfights, and I'm in, honestly. This game looks fantastic. It's just looks like a really cool remake, and remakes have been doing really well recently, and I feel like at least every remake I've played in the past few years have really hit me. So I'm really excited for Tomb Raider. It just seems like it speaks to me, and I'm excited to finally get to experience the first game for myself. So that is my number 10. Alrighty, my number 9 most anticipated game of 2026 is Pragmata. If you would have asked me if you would have told me about maybe a year or 2 ago, when Pragmata was first being revealed and we didn't know too much about it, that this would be in my top 10 most anticipated games of 2026, I'd be like, no way, this game looks like, what? But now I'm like, this game looks awesome. This is coming from Capcom, who is set to have a great year, it looks like, this year, with this Onimusha, Way of the Sword, and also an upcoming game, and also another game that I will talk about later in the video. But Pragmata looks awesome. This is a third-person action game set in a space station. You play as a guy in the space station named Hugh, and basically the synopsis of the game is, in the near future, several years have passed since humanity discovered lunum ore. With it, they researched lunafilament, a material capable of replicating anything as long as they have its data. One day, without warning, they lost all signals to the lunar research station dedicated to the research and development of this lunafilament. A response team was dispatched immediately. However, a massive lunar quake hit soon after they arrived. Hugh Williams, separated from his team, unconscious and badly injured, is discovered by a mysterious android in the form of a young girl. She is a Pragmata, created using filament. So yeah, this is a third-person action game where you play as a lunar astronaut response team person named Hugh, going to investigate a space station, and you meet this mysterious robot girl. And I haven't been able to play this game yet. There's been a demo on Steam. Sadly, Capcom hasn't released the demo on consoles yet, which they keep saying they will soon. Please, Capcom, release it soon. I really want to get my hands on this game. But from what I've seen and from what I've heard, this game looks awesome. It kind of makes me think this is like a perfect 8 out of 10 game. Like, this seems like the most, it's not doing anything crazy, it's not doing anything groundbreaking, but it still seems like a game that is going to be well beloved, it's going to review well, people are going to enjoy it, it's going to have a fun, simple story, the boss fights are going to be cool, the combat alone, it's kind of unique where it's, again, third-person shooting, but you have to kind of unlock them, almost hack them, with the help of the robot girl Diana. And by doing that, you kind of use like, if you're on mouse, you use like kind of like the mouse to like do like a little hacking puzzle while you're fighting and like dodging. So that looks pretty fun. Adds a little more emerging gameplay to it all. But yeah, Pragmata looks awesome. My one hope for the game is that we don't spend the whole game in the space station. That could get pretty boring and pretty bland pretty quick if the whole game is in the space station. But I feel like we've seen footage outside of it and in different areas, like a weird New York Times Square setting. So who knows about that? But yeah, I'm really looking forward to Pragmata. I think this game is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be checking out day one like all these games on this list. And I think Capcom's going to kill it with this one. Just please, Capcom, release the demo. I really want to play the game. But yeah, this game looks awesome. Alrighty. For my 8th most anticipated game of this year, it's going to be Mixtape. If you don't know what Mixtape is, this is going to be a new indie game from the developers at Beethoven and Dinosaur. They were the developers who made The Artful Escape, another awesome indie game, and this is their next game. It was revealed a few years back at an Xbox Games Showcase, and it looks awesome. It's this cool animated style game with it's almost very much, it seems like a coming of age story, where the website reads, on the last night of high school, 3 friends embark on one more adventure together. Play through a mixtape of memories set to the soundtrack of a generation. Skate, party, avoid the law, make out, sneak out, and hang out. This game, from everything we've seen so far, from trailers to people getting their hands on the game at like Summer Games Fest, it looks awesome. It was like the game of the show at Summer Games Fest last year or the year before. Just everything about this game just really seems like it's going to be a massive hit, or at least critically a hit. This game looks beautiful. Honestly, I'm a big fan of coming of age stories and stories kind of like almost like a John Hughes movie, and this really does seem like it's inspired by that. Just the screenshots of the game and how beautiful it looks from the like art and animation style to this cool looking unique gameplay where it seems more like the gameplay is taking a backseat almost to the story, which I'm fine with. I love a good story in a game, especially when it makes what you're playing is gorgeous and beautiful and insane and awesome. So can't wait. I'm very much looking forward to Mixtape. I hope I feel like it's coming out this year. It was meant to come out last year. It got delayed at the end of the year to this year. So I hope it comes out this year. It's got an awesome soundtrack from artists like the Smashing Pumpkins, and I think even the Stone Temple Pilots, which is an awesome soundtrack for a video game. That's so cool. So yeah, this game just looks beautiful, and everything we've seen so far really does make it seem like it's going to be a massive indie darling. Possibly one of the best indie games of the year. So I cannot wait for Mixtape. It is my 8th most anticipated game of this year. Alrighty. Now to my 7th most anticipated game. And now the rest of these games are going to be big AAA games. No more indie games. Now it's all big. This is a big year for AAA games. And as the next few games I'm going to talk about really hammer that statement home of this is one of the biggest years for AAA games in a while. So, my 7th most anticipated game of this year is Fable. Fable is coming from Playground Games, who are finally reviving the series. That's right, the developers of the Forza Horizon series is making a fantasy open world RPG. And as many of you who have watched past videos on this channel know, I love Forza Horizon. It's one of my favorite franchises of all time. I love Playground Games. And so anything they do, I will play. And I think Fable looks awesome. We've seen this game a few times in the past few years. Mostly cinematic trailers and cutscene trailers and stuff like that. But finally, just last week, we got to see our first look at gameplay at the Developer Direct. And I talked about it a lot on the Developer Direct recap video from last week. But this game looks amazing. It really was my game of the show. Even in a show with Forza Horizon 6. What blew me away the most was Fable. Fable looks gorgeous. It looks expansive, it looks massive. And so they talked about things like you can marry every NPC in the game, and all 1,000 NPCs were built uniquely from each other, and they're all distinct, and they weren't just some of them like AI generated. They're all like actual handcrafted by the development team. They've been working on this game for a long time, they've said, and this game looks beautiful. It's running on the same Forza Tech engine that all the Forza games run on, which is wild. And those games are obviously gorgeous. And it just looks like those ultimate RPG fantasy where you can literally do what you can buy as many businesses as you want. The whole mechanic of how some people like you, some people hate you for just like even kicking a chicken, and that could become your reputation in the town. And some people like that. Some people don't like that, and they'll kind of interact with you in different ways because of that. You can have people live in your homes and rent homes to people. You can kick people out. You can be a bad landlord. You can be a good landlord. You can hire people. You can fire people from your businesses. It just is insane. It's wild. And I hope that if they can really nail all these things they're talking about, this game really does come out and it is perfect and is good and really nails everything. I think it's going to be one of the best games of the year and probably a big contender for Game of the Year at the Game Awards. This game looks amazing. I cannot wait. Just from the humor and the gameplay, and even the combat looks awesome. I think the combat was really the first time in the Dev Direct watching this show, I was like, whoa, okay, this is going to be good. Like, this is actually something. And so, like, just kind of what I talked about in the last Thursday video, where the combat looks so smooth and, like, the enemy movement and stuff just looks really awesome and smooth. And from the character creation to the world looking gorgeous to just getting to have this ultimate roleplay fantasy and do whatever you want. Like, I can't wait. You can have kids with just any NPC in the game, which is insane. Like, this game just looks fantastic. I genuinely, if it really does hit, and they were not lying about everything, which I do not, it's Playground Games, I do not think they're lying. I do think it's going to hit. This development team, they are wizards at Playground. So, if it really is as good as they say it is, which I do believe it is, then I really think this is going to be one of the biggest hits of the year. And I can't wait. They said it's coming out in fall. So my guess is sometime either September or October. Just before GTA, obviously. So I cannot wait for Fable. That is my 7th most anticipated game. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, but for some of the other games that I mentioned already, my number 10, Tomb Raider, we don't have a release date or release window. They just said 2026 for now. For Pragmata, we have I believe Pragmata is coming in April. So look forward to that in April. So that's coming pretty soon, honestly. And then Mixtape, again, also doesn't have a window. It just says 2026. So let's move on to my 6th most anticipated game of 2026. And that is going to be Marvel's Wolverine. I absolutely love everything Insomniac has done in this whole console generation. And honestly, even before. Insomniac truly is the powerhouse, I'd say, of Sony and PlayStation. They're probably the best, in my opinion, studio that PlayStation owns, just because their output of games is insane compared to everything else. Their quality of their games, they are consistently releasing 9 to 10 out of 10 games. And all the games they've released this generation, last generation, from Marvel Spider-Man to Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart to Spider-Man Miles Morales to Spider-Man 2, are all games that I've loved and have all been in my top 3 games of those years that it came out. And so I can't wait for the next game. And it's another Marvel game, which is awesome. And this time we're following Wolverine, which, well, I'm not the biggest Wolverine fan. I'm not the biggest X-Men fan, to be honest. But I can't lie that I get excited just by seeing the super bloody combat that Insomniac has been working on for Marvel's Wolverine. It's definitely a step in a different direction from Spider-Man, where I'd say Spider-Man is a little more PG-13, rated teen, where you're punching people and beating people up. But Wolverine just seems gnarly. From the trailer we got a few months ago at a PlayStation State of Play, we see Wolverine just ripping people apart and just ripping limbs off, just cutting limbs off and all that stuff, and it just looks truly like Wolverine. We've seen Wolverine a lot in movies recently with like Deadpool and Wolverine, and this looks like nothing different. We are really in a Wolverine renaissance, I'd say, right now. And this game looks insane. They said it's coming out like later this year, so my guess is you would hope come out before GTA 6, probably. So I would think September, October as well. So probably around the same time as Fable, which will be interesting to see the two of these sort of compete. And this game looks awesome. You can, on the website, it says, an all-new take on the iconic character based on Marvel Comics. From Insomniac Games, the developers of the critically acclaimed Marvel Spider-Man franchise, comes Marvel Wolverine. As he searches for answers about his past, Wolverine will do whatever it takes, unleashing brutal claw combat, violent rage, and relentless determination to cut through the mystery of the man he used to be. We've seen, at least from the gameplay that we've seen so far, there's a ton of different places we get to go in the story. It's much more story-focused as compared to the Spider-Man games, where they are very story-focused, but they're also open-world games. These games, not so much. I feel like they're going to have hub worlds where you can kind of explore the worlds and stuff and find collectibles and all that. But for the most part, you are following a linear story, which I like. That's totally something I'm fine with. I always prefer an open world, but if we can get an awesome linear story, then that's fine with me. So it looks awesome. There's places like we go to like the wilderness of Canada. We're going to Madripoor, Tokyo. Just all the locations so far have looked awesome. There are some popular other X-Men characters like Mystique and Omega Red that's going to be in the game. Who knows? We saw Sentinels in the trailer. Who knows what else we're going to see in the game. I'm sure a lot more X-Men are going to show up. Maybe Cyclops. I've always loved Cyclops, so I'd love to see Cyclops in the game. And it just looks awesome. The combat looks like a lot of fun. I love Insomniac's combat system because it probably feels like the closest to Batman Arkham since the Arkham games. And I love the Arkham games, so to get a combat that feels like that is awesome. And I feel like this is going to feel even more like that than Spider-Man, which just looks awesome. I think this game looks great. I'm so excited. Probably coming out later this year. It's going to be a great story. Really fun time exploring Logan's past and Weapon X and all that stuff, and kind of just exploring the world on this globe-trotting adventure, which is something we don't really get much from these Marvel Insomniac games, and since we're always kind of stuck in New York. And I wouldn't be shocked if we maybe even see Spider-Man in the game, kind of combining the two together. But yeah, Wolverine is my 6th most anticipated game of this year already. Time for my number 5. Getting into the latter half of my list. Number 5, my 5th most anticipated game is 007 First Light. I absolutely love James Bond. James Bond is one of, if not my favorite movie franchise of all time. I absolutely love James Bond. I've always loved James Bond. I just think the movies, especially the Daniel Craig movies, I've grown up with it, and it's just been my favorites. And I cannot wait. I mean, the Hitman games. This is coming from IOI, who are the developers of Hitman, and I love the Hitman games. Hitman 3 is one of my all-time favorites. It'd probably be in my top 10, maybe even. I just have so much fun with that sort of sandbox assassin game. It's just so cool. And this game, and as soon as I found out that IOI was making a 007 game, I was like, that is the perfect fit. That is a match made in heaven. And everything we've seen so far about this game really does look like a match made in heaven. This game, you've seen a lot. It was first supposed to come out in March, but then got delayed to May 20th, which is totally fine. I think, honestly, that makes me even more hopeful about the game, because if they're delaying it, that means they're making it even better. They're giving it more time to work on it. So I'm very much looking forward to this game. Oh, May 26th, I believe, is the date, because it took the last release date of GTA 6 before it got delayed, which is very funny. But yeah, this game looks awesome. It's totally this, and it seems like a mix between Hitman and Uncharted, which Uncharted 4 is also one of my top 4 favorite games of all time. So to get a good mix between those two just seems like a dream come true game for me, of mixing James Bond with Hitman and Uncharted. And that's just like, oh, that's a dream. That really just seems like the greatest game ever. Obviously, it's not number one, because then again, we've seen a lot of the game, but just not enough for me to say, oh, this looks like it's going to be the masterpiece that I want it to be. We've seen some issues like the frame rate look bad in some gameplay moments that we've seen so far. So hopefully this delay, they can fix all that, but just everything from a bunch of actors being in the game to it looking awesome to car driving combat scenes, which definitely gets me excited. And just getting to explore these cool sandboxy maps just like Hitman, but also while doing a spy espionage mission instead of just finding out cool ways to kill your targets. Just seems awesome. This game looks great. It's literally just, it seems like we're the closest to just playing a James Bond. This game follows a new James Bond where it's played by the actor Patrick Gibson. And this is kind of a James Bond origin story, which is something we have not seen in movies. So to kind of get our first James Bond origin story is awesome. So this game looks great. I like how there's licensed cars in the games. If you've watched some videos on this channel, you know I do love cars like Forza and all that stuff. And so to see that a game like this also has licensed cars like Land Rovers and Aston Martins that you can drive, and Jaguars that you can drive, is like just another add-on to make this go from a 10 out of 10 to an 11 out of 10. So 007 First Light is my 5th most anticipated game of this year. Alrighty, now for my number 4. My 4th most anticipated game of this year is Control Resonant. This is a sequel, a follow-up to Remedy's 2019 game, Control. And if you don't know, Alan Wake 2, Remedy's last game, is my favorite game of all time. I absolutely love Alan Wake. I'm like just playing that game. I wasn't never a big fan of Alan Wake 1, but I decided to give Alan Wake 2 a try when it came out, and I fell in love with it immediately. Not only was just the game itself and this story they've built and how immersive it is and how good the game looks and just how much fun it was what got me to love it so much. It was also this universe that Remedy has created. And then after that, playing Control, kind of a little bit out of order, and going to Control after playing Alan Wake 2 for the first time, and kind of learning more about this universe that they're both connected, like in the same universe of. This Remedy shared universe is awesome, where the Control games and the Alan Wake games take place in the same timeline, in the same universe, and learning about the the FBC, the Federal Bureau of Control, and playing as Jesse Faden, and these superpowers were insane. I mean, like that game, Control, I just finished it recently. It was a game that like a month ago, that I said, you know what, I'm gonna go back and replay it after being hyped about Control Resonant being revealed at the Game Awards just last month. And it got me even more excited for this game. Just the feeling of using the force push powers and picking up any object in the world and chucking it at enemies just feels awesome, and getting to hover around and stuff. That game is like the ultimate power trip fantasy, superhero fantasy. Honestly, it feels more like a superhero game than most other superhero games, where I really did feel like I'm the most badass superhero of them all in Control 1. And I hope to feel the same way in Control Resonant. This game, you play as Jesse Faden's brother, Dylan Faden, in this game, and the website says, explore warped Manhattan on the brink of paranatural annihilation in this thrilling action-adventure RPG. Unleash the extraordinary powers of Dylan Faden as he fights for his humanity and our survival against a reality-bending cosmic threat. Now it gets me even more excited because we are not just stuck in the Federal Bureau of Control like we were in the first game. We are now leaving it and going out into Manhattan. They didn't say it's necessarily an open world game. They said it's an open zone game, where there are open areas where you can explore and backtrack, but in the end of the day, it's still going to be a linear experience, kind of like Control, which I'm totally down for. And just getting to kind of go out of the Federal Bureau of Control office and go into Manhattan, this crazy, it looks like Inception inspired, just the world they've built looks awesome and mind-bending, and I'm hoping they can add stuff from Alan Wake 2, like a more horror vibe to it all, and a more creepy vibe, which would be awesome. But yeah, this is my fourth most excited game of the year because I love Remedy, and anything Remedy puts out now, I cannot wait for, and I love Control as well, and I cannot wait for the sequel, Control Resonant. It being sort of an RPG game with more of a focus on melee combat is also really, really cool and gets me even more excited. So yeah, I can't wait. Alrighty, finally in my top 3. These are like the big ones. These are like my most excited games of the year and probably ever, honestly. I haven't been more excited for these 3 games than really any game ever. So, number 3. This is the most recent game. This is the most recent upcoming game that's coming out the soonest of any of these games on this list. And that is Resident Evil Requiem. I absolutely cannot wait. We've talked about this game countless of times on this channel this month. Either talking just about news about it coming out next month, leaks, or even the showcase that we got a few weeks ago where we got to see more of the game and the gameplay. And this game, which was revealed last year at Summer Games Fest at the end, and then we got to see more Gamescom, and then we got to see even more at the Game Awards. Just everything I've seen so far has blown me away. I love Resident Evil. It's one of my favorite franchises of all time. I've played most of the Resident Evil games now. And this really does seem like it from everything that people have played and said and they've talked about. This seems like it's going to be combining some of my favorite and the best Resident Evil games. So it's combining the third-person action horror moments from RE4, which is my favorite Resident Evil game, and combining it with the first-person horror, more horror, survival horror elements of Resident Evil 7 and 8. And kind of combining those together. With 2 playable characters, you have Grace Ashcroft, who is an FBI analyst, and is more sort of, they recommend playing in first person. She's kind of she doesn't have much experience, obviously, against fighting bioweapons. And so she's a little in over her head, but obviously very crucial to the story, as we will learn in the game. And you get to kind of play a more survival horror experience with her, first person, pretty scary. A lot of stalker enemies, which is always a staple of the Resident Evil franchise. And then you also get to play as Leon Kennedy, who is back from Resident Evil 2 and 4 and 6. And one of my all-time favorite video game characters ever, and is returning, and he looks awesome, much older this time around, but still just as badass as ever. Just absolutely doing his more roundhouse kicks, now using chainsaws this time. It just looks awesome. Capcom has been very quiet, honestly, about the marketing of the game and what we've seen so far. We haven't seen much. They've really kept a lot where we've really only seen just a few locations, like just the hotel at the start of the game, and then the care center that we've seen a lot of the recent gameplay that has come out, the Rose Hill. And they're really hiding a lot, which I think is interesting. I think a lot of recent Resident Evil games have tried to hide. I know Resident Evil 8 hid a lot from us until launch. And I think they're doing the same with this, which I think is awesome. It leads to more surprises when the game comes out. And yeah, this game is coming out very soon. It's coming out the end of February, so next month. It's, I believe, February 27th, so we are now less than a month away from Resident Evil Requiem. And I cannot wait for this game. It's one of my most anticipated games of the year, of all time. I think it's going to be amazing. Honestly, I have a feeling this could be the best Resident Evil game ever. And that's saying a lot. That's a big, with games like Resident Evil 2 and 4 being masterpieces. But I really do believe this is going to be the best one yet. Just from everything we've seen so far. And plus, Leon drives a Porsche. I kind of talked about it similar with 007 First Light, where you get to drive Aston Martins and Land Rovers and Jaguars, and that's already exciting for me. But then to see this and see Leon driving a Porsche is even cooler. And I'm hoping that you get to drive it. Because if you get to drive the Porsche in the game, And that goes from a 10 out of 10 to an 11 out of 10 for me. And so I can't wait. So Resident Evil Requiem is my third most anticipated game of this year. Alrighty. Now let's get into my top 2. My second most anticipated game of this year is Forza Horizon 6. You knew it'd be on the list. It had to be somewhere, and obviously number 2 is where it's going to be. I have said it countless times on the channel, countless times in this video even. I love Forza Horizon. It's one of my favorite gaming franchises of all time, and it was really the first franchise in video games I ever fell in love with. When I first started playing video games and got into it as a kid, one of my first games I ever played was Forza Horizon. It was Forza Horizon 2, actually, on the Xbox One when I first bought it. And it was the first game I ever had on the console, and really the first big game I ever played after sort of just kind of playing the popular Wii games like the Wii Sports and stuff like that. And this game I instantly fell in love with. And I've been with Forza ever since I played every single game. I've been excited and anticipating every single game since then. I even went back a few years ago and bought an old copy of Forza Horizon 1 to play on my Xbox Series X sort of backwards compatibility and experience that for the first time and get to enjoy that. So I've played every single Forza game for countless amount of hours, and this just seems like the biggest and best one yet. We're finally going to Japan, which is the location everyone's been asking for ever since I feel like the second or third game people have been asking for Japan, including me. And now we're finally going there. We've got to see gameplay recently with the Xbox Developer Direct, which I talked about last week on Thursday. And this game looks beautiful. Japan and Tokyo and everything surrounding it just looks gorgeous and everything I wanted and more. From all the locations to the tiny roads, to the drift roads, to the toge races that we're going to have to do. To the new progression system where wristbands are coming back and we start as a tourist and have to work our way up to even get into the Horizon Festival. It just seems like we're getting progression back and we're not just starting with a Corvette and a Supra and a Bronco like we did in the last game. And just this game, from everything looks beautiful and looks gorgeous, and I could talk about this game for hours, from all the screenshots we got to the 13-minute long trailer at the Dev Direct. But I already did in last week's video, so I'm not going to talk too much about the game because I already have talked about this game countlessly, and I will be talking about this game countlessly until it comes out, and even after it comes out. But yeah, I can't wait for Forza Horizon 6. It just looks gorgeous. All the new cars, the new customization, the new maps, the new gameplay features, just everything we've seen so far just makes me so excited, and really just, I haven't been this excited for a game other than my number 1 on this list for a long time. And I'm counting down the days for it to come out. So that is my number 2. Alrighty. I think you all expected it. It's pretty obvious. My most anticipated game of this year, the game I am most excited for, is Grand Theft Auto 6. Come on, it was obvious. It had to be there. It had to be number 1. Yes, I love Forza, and Forza Horizon is a franchise I will always love in my heart and hold special to me. But Grand Theft Auto, we only get it once every now, like 10 to 15 years. We haven't had a new Grand Theft Auto game since 2013 with GTA 5. So it's been a long time coming in the works. And so to finally now get a new game, the last Rockstar game we got was Red Dead Redemption 2, which is also, I'd say, my top 3 favorite games of all time. I love Red Dead Redemption 2. It's a game I always go back to, and it's just a game I've fallen in love with, and I think is honestly the greatest game ever made, at least in my opinion. And so I feel like Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be it's obviously the biggest game of the year. It's going to be the biggest entertainment release of all time. It's going to make $1 billion almost instantly. Probably going to make $1 billion in pre-orders. Like, that's just how big and crazy this game is. Every other game is avoiding November 19th like the plague to get away from GTA. No game wants to release in the latter half of November. no game really wants to release in November. If you want to release a game in November, you want to do it the first week. That's how big this game is, where every developer, every team, no matter how big or how small you are just avoiding this game like the plague. And that speaks to just how insane this game is going to be. We've seen, not so much, but we've also seen a lot. We've gotten now 2 trailers of the game and a ton of screenshots, and just everything we've seen from the trailers and the screenshots, it just looks like the greatest game ever made. I mean, like, I can't lie, this is going to be the biggest game release ever. It's probably going to be the biggest game of the decade. It might even be the best game of the best game of the decade. Just this game, I think Rockstar is going to knock it out of the park. They haven't made anything bad recently in the last, say, century, really. Everything they've done from GTA 4 to GTA 5 to Red Dead Redemption 1 to Red Dead Redemption 2 have all been masterpieces. And this game is going to be no different. I really have no worries about this game, or no fears that, oh, it's going to be bad, it's going to be disappointing. I think this game is, if anything, going to exceed people's expectations, and people already have high enough expectations as it is for this game. And I think it's going to exceed it. I think, obviously, the elephant in the room, will it be delayed? I don't think it's going to be delayed out of this year. I do think it is coming out on November 19th. In terms of, there's been recent news that we'll talk about this Sunday video, that maybe the physical edition of the game might be delayed to 2027, and I believe that could happen. But I do believe that at least the digital version of the game itself is going to come out this November. It's going to be massive. It's going to be the biggest thing ever. It might be the highest reviewed game on Metacritic or OpenCritic ever. Who knows? If it is that good, it will probably win Game of the Year. It wins Most Anticipated Game of the Year. So I think it could win Game of the Year if it is that good, which I think it will be. But yeah, how can GTA 6 not be my most anticipated game of the year? It just is like the obvious choice. It's the obvious, and I know it's the boring answer. It's the obvious answer. Everyone's going to say that, but you can't lie. It's going to be a juggernaut. It's going to be massive. Everyone wants to play this game. Everyone is looking forward to this game. And yeah, it's going to be a cultural moment, a cultural phenomenon. And I can't wait to experience it later this year. It's so exciting that we are getting a new Forza game and a new Grand Theft Auto game in the same year. Like, that is just dream year for me. So yeah, that is my top 10 most anticipated games of the year. To go over it again one more time, my 3 honorable mentions were Crimson Desert, Soros, and Big Walk. And my top 10 games, number 10 was Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis, number 9 was Pragmata, number 8 was Mixtape, number 7 was Fable, number 6 was Marvel's Wolverine, number 5 was 007 First Light, number 4 was Control Resonant, number 3 is Resident Evil Requiem, number 2 is Forza Horizon 6, and number 1 is Grand Theft Auto 6. That is going to be all for today's video. Stay tuned on Sunday for another news roundup video. And then next week, on Tuesday, unless Nintendo does a showcase in the next few days before Tuesday, or PlayStation does one, which both of them are probably going to be having one soon, it's rumored, then I will be doing my top 10 most anticipated movies of this year. So look forward to that next Tuesday, and I will see y'all later. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.